Hello everybody, we are back today and we're going to be talking about the wild card race. It is going down in both the East and the West for the conferences and who exactly is going to make it. We won't exactly say that this is for sure, but I'm going to talk about all these teams, their odds, their remaining schedule, and kind of my take on who I think will make these playoff spots with no time to go, it seems like, left in the season. But anyway, if you're new, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you're new to me, new to hockey, whatever the case may be, I'd love to have you here along the way as I try to do this as a career. That being said, let's get into it. So the Eastern Conference, as of right now, features 4 teams that could still make it, that being the Buffalo Sabres, Florida Panthers, New York Islanders, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. As for the Western Conference, it features 3 teams that could still make it, being the Calgary Flames, Nashville Predators, and Winnipeg Jets. Let's take a look at each team's chances of making the playoffs according to MoneyPuck.com as of April 7th. So, for the Eastern Conference, Buffalo sits at a whopping 0.8%, not even a whole percent. Yeah, that's where they're at right now. Things are looking pretty desperate in Buffalo as it looks like they're kind of sliding at the wrong time. Florida sits at 75.8%. That's a good percentage there. The New York Islanders sit at 80.6%. Feeling pretty confident there for the team. And then Pittsburgh, team that has consistently been in the playoffs for over a decade and a half, they sit at just 42.7%. Not terrible, but of course, with time winding down, every game is important for them. As for the Western Conference, Calgary's odds sit at 31% despite their recent surge. In fact, they just beat the Winnipeg Jets the other night, so kind of frustrating there. If you're a Flames fan, Nashville has a little bit of hope, more hope than Buffalo, but still pretty low with a 10.5% chance of making it to the postseason. And finally, the Winnipeg Jets odds sit at 58.5%. So they're thinking we feel relatively good-ish about it. Tough to say. Now let's take a look at every team's remaining schedule for their games and see who might be able to pull it off. So in the East, Buffalo plays the New York Rangers, New York Devils, Ottawa Senators, New Jersey Devils, Ottawa Senators, and Columbus Blue Jackets to close out the year. And while they do have 2 games in hand, they're currently 6 points back of the Florida Panthers and the New York Islanders. So for them, they are probably looking unlikely to make it. Not really that surprising there. When you have less than a percent chance of making it to the playoffs when you're that far back and you need a lot of things to go right. Well, I am really impressed with what Buffalo's had to do this year and what they've been able to achieve. I'm going to say Buffalo misses out on the playoffs. As for the Panthers, they play the Washington Capitals, Toronto Maple Leafs, and Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to be honest here, I really don't think it's an easy stretch, and if I'm a Panthers fan, I'm going to be really anxious about what's going to happen here in the next 3 games. If I have to give a verdict, I'm going to say it's a toss-up. These are not easy games. Washington, I wouldn't even say is easy. Toronto, I think, is probably going to be an easier game than people expect if they're able to, say that Toronto is locked up in that 2 seed, then it's not going to be a big deal. Carolina, with the way the Metro is looking right now, I'd be kind of worried about that game. So it's a toss-up there. As for the Islanders, they play Philadelphia, Washington, and Montreal. Personally, I think the Isles should be able to take care of business here against these clubs, and if they don't, they really only have themselves to blame. These are not great organizations. I shouldn't even say organizations. These are teams that are not built right now to win. So for the Islanders, I'm going to see that they do make the playoffs. And if they don't, really, there's no reason that they can say this is anybody else's fault. Because you got to take care of business. And against 3 teams that aren't exactly towards the top of the standings. In fact, some of these teams are pretty low. You just got to get it done. As for Pittsburgh, they play the Detroit Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks, and Columbus Blue Jackets. I think their fans should feel pretty good about this. I know that they do need some things to go their way right about now, and they are 1 point back of the Florida Panthers for that final wild card spot. But this is a much easier schedule than Florida's. In fact, I actually think it's the Islanders that's in that last wild card spot. I checked it this morning, forgot to take a screenshot. But anyway, my take is that Pittsburgh does have a really good chance to make it. And I actually like their odds more than Florida's because Florida really is in a spot where they're playing 2 teams that are really good, and then the Capitals that are another team that's probably just frustrated with how their season's gone and wants to end it in a better way when you have guys that are veterans and want to play well. So we'll see there. As for the West, you have the Calgary Flames, and they are playing the Vancouver Canucks, Nashville Predators, and San Jose Sharks. So this feels like a pretty easy stretch if you're looking on the outside of it. But to me, it feels like a 3-game trap. You're looking at this, seeing that the Canucks are a rivalry game. Vancouver, of course, has had their ups and their downs this year. They have been eliminated recently from playoff contention. They might be looking to really just stick their a poker into Calgary's playoff hopes, so we'll have to see for that one. That Nashville game is crucially important for them in Nashville, so we'll have to see about that. But the final game there against San Jose is also one that you worry about too. San Jose recently had a 3-game winning streak. So you think San Jose, while they are one of those bottom feeder teams in the league, they have been able to string together some wins lately. Of course, they are on a losing streak again, but you get my gist. So my verdict here is Calgary will make it, but it's whether or not they take care of business against Vancouver. So for Nashville, they get to play the Flames, Minnesota Wild, and Colorado Avalanche. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this, but that's 3 tough games in a row. My verdict, the Preds will fall short, although I do say that they will have a better chance than people somewhat think because they have more regulation wins in Calgary. So if it came down to a tie, they'd be able to make the playoffs. So they're going to have to take care of business against Calgary. Minnesota and Colorado battling for that division right now. That's where I really worry that they're going to play their full lines and they're going to just try to win those games as much as possible. Not looking good for Nashville. And finally, we have the Winnipeg Jets who play the Nashville Predators, San Jose Sharks, and Minnesota Wild and Colorado Avalanche. This is tough because, again, Nashville is desperate. You know that Winnipeg's got games in hand, I should say. But, again, you're thinking, will this be one of those things where they benefit with the extra games that they have? I don't know. You look to San Jose's beaten Winnipeg the past 2 games that they played against each other dating back to March. So in recent history, in the recent 2 games that they played each other, San Jose has got to play spoiler here. And that is something that you'd say 3rd time's a charm for Winnipeg. We will see. And then finally, kind of like I said for Nashville, Minnesota and Colorado duking it out for the division right now with Dallas. You'd kind of be hard-pressed to say that Winnipeg is going to win both of those games. My verdict is Winnipeg will make it if they take care of business against Nashville and San Jose. If they lose both of those games, I think their hopes are basically shot. For the remaining 3 spots, I guess you could say, I see Calgary making it. I'm going to stick to that pick. Whether or not it holds, we'll see. I see the Islanders making it, and I see the Penguins making it. But what do you think? Who will make it and why? How do you think this will all play out? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go with hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.